All right, so today we're gonna do something a little bit different,
Yeah.
and we're gonna look at some song lyrics
Okay.
for this deep dive.
Oh, cool.
And we're gonna take a look at a heavy metal song
All right.
called "War Game."
Hmm.
And so this song is pretty interesting because it's got
Okay.
teenage hackers. It's
Nice.
got it's kind of like blurred lines between virtual reality and the real world,
Mm-hmm.
and it also has this kind of powerful message about war and peace.
Wow.
So
Sounds pretty deep for a heavy metal song.
yeah, yeah. So we're gonna dive into that and see what we can uncover.
I'm ready.
So right off the bat, you're hit with this image in the song of this young prodigy, like this young kid
Mm.
who's living a teenage dream, but he's also like this master hacker.
Interesting.
That kind of reminds me of, you hear these stories all the time about these like
Yeah.
teenage hacking groups, taking down like major corporations or even,
Yeah.
governments and stuff like that.
Definitely, it's a real thing, and it's pretty scary actually when you think about it.
Right.
I mean, the accessibility of these powerful technologies these days,
Yeah.
it's really mind-blowing.
Yeah. And what kind of consequences that can have.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the song really captures that anxiety, I think.
Right.
Especially the whole idea of cyber warfare, which is,
Hmm.
it's not just about stealing data anymore. It's about disrupting critical infrastructure,
Right.
manipulating elections,
Yeah.
even potentially causing physical harm remotely.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
It's serious stuff.
So, the song, it asks this question, is it just a game or is it something more?
Right.
And I think, it's not just talking about a kid playing video games in his basement.
No, definitely not.
It's really talking about this kind of like blurred line
Mm-hmm.
between the digital world and the real world, right?
Exactly. And that line's becoming more and more blurry all the time. I mean, for all of us, not just teenage hackers.
Mhm.
Think about how much of our lives are online now.
Oh, totally.
Our finances, our communications,
Everything.
even our critical infrastructure.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting how this song uses, this almost mythical image of this young person with,
Yeah.
this power to change the world.
Mhm.
But instead of swords and sorcery, it's code and networks.
Yeah. And there's that one line that really gets me.
Oh, yeah.
It says, push a button, change the fate.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in his hands.
Right.
And it's just like chilling to think about.
I know. It's pretty powerful.
Like how much power and influence is concentrated in
Yeah.
the digital realm these days.
Absolutely. It makes you wonder, with just a few keystrokes, could someone really change the fate of the world?
Right.
And that's really what the song is exploring. And I think it does a great job of not shying away from the complexities.
Right.
I think the line, "No winners in war, only shades of gray,"
Yeah.
is particularly powerful, because it moves beyond that simplistic
Yeah.
good versus evil narrative that we often see in
yeah.
these kinds of stories.
Yeah.
And acknowledges that in the world of cyber warfare, the consequences are rarely black and white.
Right.
There are always unintended consequences and ethical dilemmas to consider.
Yeah. It reminds me of that Stuxnet worm incident,
Oh, right.
that was supposed to sabotage Iran's nuclear program.
Right.
But some experts believe that it might have actually accelerated their
Interesting.
nuclear ambitions. So it's like,
yeah.
even with good intentions, you can't always predict the outcome of these actions in the digital world.
A great point. And so,
And then there's the ending, which is kind of surprising.
yeah.
It's not bleak. It's not. The protagonist chooses a new path he sees
Right.
towards peace.
Yeah.
It's almost like a call to action,
Mm-hmm.
a reminder that we have a choice
Right.
in how we use this technology.
Yeah. It's not a foregone conclusion that we're headed for
Yeah.
some kind of dystopian cyber warfare future.
Right. It's like those real world efforts,
Yeah.
to establish like international norms for cyberspace.
Yeah.
Or those organizations trying to educate young people
Absolutely.
about ethical hacking and responsible tech use.
Mm-hmm.
There's hope there.
There is. There is.
Yeah.
The song is a powerful reminder that even in a genre
Mm.
as intense as heavy metal,
Yeah.
we can find these nuanced and thought-provoking ideas
Right.
about technology,
Yeah.
war and peace.
So we've got this heavy metal song that's making us think critically
It is pretty amazing.
about the power and the responsibility that comes with technology.
Right.
Who knew headbanging could be so insightful?
Well, it just goes to show you that
Yeah.
you can find these important messages in the most unexpected places.
It really does. But it leaves me wondering,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think these lines between the virtual and the real
Yeah.
will continue to blur in the future? And how can we ensure that those lines don't just get completely erased?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is.
I think it's something we all need to be thinking about and talking about. And
Yeah.
if anyone's interested in exploring these themes further,
Yeah.
I highly recommend checking out Wargame.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
Awesome.
Hmm.
Well,
Of course.
thanks for diving in with me today.
Anytime.
This was a really interesting one.
It was a good one.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Say ya.